Welcome to Marketplace with Charles, where dreams are turned into reality. Marketplace is brought to you by Art of Skincare. Art of Skincare, the company that brings out the beauty in you. As long as Kuisa Lodge, situated at the heart of Mabalingwe Nature Reserve. If tranquility is what you're looking for, then Mabalingwe Nature Reserve is a place to be. But when you're there, locate Kuisa Lodge, because you will be surrounded with a big five. Imagine early morning, waking up at the beautiful sound of a hummingbird. It's an experience you wouldn't like to miss. I am Charles Ngobeni. On Marketplace, we empower and equip you with tools that you need to reach your entrepreneurial dreams. We create kingdom financiers. This is what we're all about. Each week, we bring you insight from experts in different fields of business, from men and women of faith. On today's episode, we meet a passionate business consultant who will help business owners buy back their time and sanity by improving their business processes for maximum profitability. The face of business, or the environment in which we conduct business, changes faster than many of us will change our minds on decisions that we make. As much as it takes you real time to communicate very cheaply with a person halfway across the globe, imagine what that means to how business processes are poised to change at any time. The danger in this is that should change occur and you are not ready for it, it could spell the difference between life and death for the business and eventually for you. If I were to take you back, think of Nokia. It was a great cell phone, but they failed to adapt and change with time. And where are they today? Eliminated. Think of Kodak. They failed to change and adapt with time. Where are they today? Smartphones took over. Think of Encyclopedia Britannica. They failed to change and adapt with time. Where are they today? They have been replaced by Google. Think of LPs. They were replaced by CDs. Now the CDs replaced with USBs. The USB, they're all gone now as well. Now we download music from the iTunes. What about the movie houses? Ster-Keneko. They're battling today because they failed to adapt. Now there's Netflix. We watch these movies online. Things changes fast. And if you're not prepared to change, you'll be eliminated, like the examples I have given. I just don't want to come closer to home where we used to perm our hair. You remember the Black Like Me? It changes to Jabustone dreadlocks, and then it changes to Brazilian hair, then it changes, nowadays is wigs. We no longer perm our hair. Things do change. Well, welcome, Ms. Marang, today in your home, in your studio, or where you are watching from. I hope she will help me unpack this topic so that you are helped. Marang, welcome to Marketplace with Charles.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Charles. I'm happy to be here.
I need your help today. We need to help these people, including myself. I've got businesses too. I don't want to be eliminated. Please take a moment and introduce your business for the viewers.
Well, a few years ago, I started a company called Business Process Mechanics. And I say I buy entrepreneurs their time and their sanity back. So I look at their business models, which looks at how many ways they can sell their products or services and to their particular target markets. And I also look at their business processes, which speaks to the delivery of those goods and services to their customers. It also speaks to how the business can scale and how profitable the business becomes eventually.
So basically you're improving the profitability of the business.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you can cut down your operating costs, you will improve the profitability of that business.
And what does your business seek to achieve with their clients?
Look, a lot of my clients are people that are looking for peace of mind and structure in their businesses. They are looking to say, okay, if I've got this particular business model, how long can this business survive? And we have to then look at the trends, and we have to look at what's going on in the current spaces. And the examples that you gave earlier were perfect examples of what happens to a business that doesn't adapt. So part of looking at the business model isn't just about where you are today, it is about also where do you need to adapt so that you can actually keep up with the times and stay a sustainable business. From a processing point of view, not a lot really changes in that space. I mean, unless you dramatically change something in your business model.
Yes.
But again, they're looking to delegate. So ultimately, you're coming to me when you're looking to hire more staff. You want processes into the business that you can replicate over and over again, but also trying to understand where can you then make it cheaper to then service your customer. That speaks to the consistency of the business and how many branches. I mean, some people want to open branches all over the world, and that's what it helps them with. Or you want to franchise your model, so that's another area we look at.
Take me through the business model versus the business plan. Are we talking two different things here?
In a way, yes, you are talking different things, because in a business model, we really are just speaking to what is the product and the service and how do you sell it. Whereas a business plan is really the more detailed element of a business model, and generally that a financier would look at to make a decision to say whether this is an investable business or not. Whereas the business model is not something that a financier would just look at.
Yes.
So that's where the different tools would then be used at. So business owners themselves, they need to know more about their business model. Our business plans are too long term.
But what do you think is the most important here? Or do they both carry the same value?
They carry, you just use it in different spaces. So if I am talking, like we're having a conversation now about what my business model is, then I wouldn't really go into financial projections about where do we see break even happening or anything like that. But if I was talking to a venture capitalist or someone that is going to give me money, they would want to know, so what is the return on investment here? And then they would have to look at my financials, which is where the business model would then kick in. They wouldn't look at just the business plan, the business model, they would look at the business plan more extensively to see the finer details. Yeah.
And how do you solicit your clients? And once you have them in your space,
So
what do you do with them?
I service clients that are from ideation phase right up to middle-sized business.
Yeah.
And so there's different entry points to that. I've worked a lot with incubators, which has given me access to the startup market. For them, it's mostly done through workshops. So that is how I get a lot of my clients. It would be workshop-based, because then people just need to understand the principles of running a business and what they're getting into. Because at that point in time, your business is still going to go through a whole lot of changes. At least for the first 2 or 3 years, that business model is going to change quite rapidly. So we teach them a lot more about how to plan and how to strategize and refine that business model. Whereas somebody that is a more experienced business owner, I engage with them mostly at networking events. That's where I tend to find them. So where they say birds of a feather flock together, you will find them in certain spaces. I do a lot of conference talking as well. So by public speaking, I'm mostly addressing CEOs of corporations that would then have to fund the programs that we run in order to assist entrepreneurs.
But once you have them, you have got everything in place. How do you ensure that the systems that you have in place are at par with the world standards?
From experience, really. I used to work for banks and insurance companies. And the moment I started servicing smaller businesses, I then realized that some of the software was too sophisticated for the size of the business that I was going to service, right? And I did a whole lot more research to it to then find the most suitable products that would apply for a small business, especially in the context of South Africa. And one of the things that I found was a platform called Lean Business Platform. And that, for me, made it a whole lot easier to scale even my services, because people didn't have to have one-on-one contact with me. They could now access this tool online and start documenting their business models, and then I could then help them fine-tune that business model from there. So it is not just about world-class systems, but it also has to be relevant to my target market. And it's a lot of research that does that, and there's a lot of partnerships that also then facilitate that.
Is Lean Business your own business, your brainchild?
No, it's not my brainchild. So Lean Business Platform is a Norwegian-based company.
Yeah.
And they were in South Africa. So how I met them, they were in South Africa rolling out one of the programs for South African breweries. And they'd invited me to be a facilitator. So I got exposed to their content. I got exposed to the platform itself and how it works. And it was just at a very opportune time, because I was also looking for a platform. So I was looking at, do I figure out how to build one, or do I find something that is existing and make it relevant to my audience? And fortunately, there they were. We worked well together for that particular program, and since then have become partners. So I'm now a managing partner for Lean Business South Africa.
Awesome.
So it ended up being two separate companies as opposed to being one company. Although they do the services leverage from one another, and it has made it easier for me to reduce even my pricing for customers, so attracting even a larger pool.
And how do you add value to your clients?
You know, when somebody comes to you and says, now it makes sense, now what I'm doing makes sense, because a lot of the times I find that people are in business almost accidentally, and they're almost winging it. And they're taking experiences and research and things and trying to piece them all together to run the business, but never really look at their business model from end to end. So for them, looking at the business model from end to end makes them really interrogate, why are you even doing this business, and how do you want to make it grow? And that has it brings us some sort of resolve to a business owner to know, this is why I'm building what I'm building, and this is the impact that it creates. And the structure makes it easier for you to then delegate to the next person. So that's why I say I buy you back the time and sanity, because a lot of times we don't sleep because we're stressed out about our businesses. And that's because there's just too many things going up in the air, the so-called organized chaos. That we operate under, right? So most people operate under organized chaos. I get you organized. And over and above that, I actually connect people. So because of the exposure to the different types of business models, if I realize, hey, but hang on, Charles, you're better off working with so-and-so, you guys could actually partner, I facilitate those kind of engagements. So I've really seen people leverage from one another, even if they didn't know one another, but I became the connector between them. So yeah.
We're talking business processes here. And I'm still trying to make sense. I still don't get it. Now I'm imagining the man on the street. How will you explain this to a man on the street in such a way that is very clear? Look,
a process by simple definition is just the way you do things, right? What we are doing from a process management point of view is actually showing you that the order in which you do things can actually make you either more efficient or less efficient. Right? So let's use an example like arranging a meeting.
Okay.
We really could be sitting, we could communicate via WhatsApp backwards and forwards. When are you available? I'm available this time and this, and it could go backwards and forwards. 20, 30 minutes later, we arrive at a conclusion as to when this meeting could happen. I could have it via phone call, same thing, backwards and forwards. Or I could just say, go to my website, click, set up the meeting yourself. That's 5 minutes. For me, it has saved me a whole 25 minutes from the WhatsApp conversation, okay, in comparison to that. So that's the sort of things that we're looking at. It's like the process is the same. I still have to figure out what time you're available. You have to figure out what time I'm available, and we have to then find each other at a common point. I'm just saying I'm making it faster for you by putting it on my website so that you can see my availability, click on it, book the appointment. I get the email when I'm looking at my emails, accept the slot, and we move on. You know for sure I'm available, and I made sure you know I'm available, so it's a done deal. So we do it a lot faster. You're saving a whole lot of time. If we're billing by the hour, I'm sure you're not a cheap exercise to have in the thing.
Yeah.
So processes forces us to look at how do we make things happen faster, correctly, and cheaper.
Let's take another practical example that you have handled. Which one will that be?
So let's look at delivery for an online store. Right? You've got an online store, and typically you would have had to, each time there's an order online, you would have had to call the courier service to say there's an order here, we'll have it wrapped up and ready for you in 10 minutes, can you come and fetch it? And the courier guy is saying, well, okay, I'm going to go past your area in half an hour, I will come through and collect the parcel. If we're building that from a processing point of view, those are actually the same steps that would have to happen.
Yeah.
But then I would look at how do we make this faster? We could easily, from the time the person orders, send an automatic email to both you, the shop owner, and the courier service guy so that they know that an order has happened. If we have standardized all collections and deliveries to happen between 2 and 4 o'clock, the courier guy will come between 2 and 4 o'clock and collect all the orders for the day that he's received via email, pick it all up, and then move on to do the deliveries, right? It stops him from going backwards and forwards each time there is an order, each time I pick up the phone. And each time the courier person is not available, then it means we wait, the order is not being done. But if we automate that process, it's easier for that person to get all the messages in one hand and plan more efficiently as to how they're going to do their work.
And I suppose this is linked one way or another to the fourth industrial revolution.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk 4IR and we have to speak about it in, imagine these things are done almost automatically. You don't even physically have to intervene. And that's what fourth industrial revolution does, is that there will be less and less intervention for human beings to actually get the job done. I don't even have to think. I mean, I was watching videos of a robotic maid that comes into, they call that robo-maid, and it's coming into the house and it's cleaning your house. All I have to do is program this thing to say, every morning at 7 o'clock, can you start, sweeping the floor? And that's it. Whether I'm sleeping or not sleeping, the house is getting cleaned.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having visitors over and everything?
Your bed is even made.
The whole, the works.
While you're still asleep.
The works. The fridge is now telling me things you're running out of milk and things like that. And then it could order the food from my local grocery store, and then ding ding, I'm just collecting the groceries, even if I have to be there, that is, right? So those are the things that we need to consider. And it's really something that we are slowly adopting. And that's mostly because of infrastructure and the cost of most of the things. But in a couple of years' time, it will be very common for us to see these things happening.
But what challenges are there? Like, for instance, I'm a baby boomer. When I joined the Wimpy Group, we used to get letters on the mail.
Post office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will send us briefs on the mail. You go get your brief, you read it, there's a new price increase tomorrow, there's a special coming up. All of a sudden, when they have to introduce the emails, they send it via emails. It was difficult for me to change and accept it. When I built my other Wimpy restaurants, we were using a WhatsApp group. So all the contractors were in the same WhatsApp group, and we'll keep updating each other. Yeah. But now there's another system which I still don't understand. You know, I don't even know, can't remember what they call it, but it is there. Yeah. You know, you see literally everything, what's happening in a real time. Yeah. For me, I find it hard to change because I am used to this type. You know, you look into the Bibles today. You know, we used to have the hard copy. Now you take your iPad to church. People say, no, you're not real, you are fake. But the iPad has got all the Bible, has got all the notes, has got everything. What challenges do you find with your clients accepting this change? Or am I the only devil?
No, you're definitely not. And it's definitely not an issue of the devil. It is purely a mindset issue. So a lot of the times we have to work through those mindsets.
Yeah.
And especially when somebody says, I want to automate, I want to build an app. I mean, everybody wants to build an app. But they're actually not thinking about the kind of work that is involved in making sure that that app actually takes on and flies off. So the mindset is a huge stumbling block in this equation, right? You could have really stuck to the post office, but is the world going to service you from a post office? You could have.
Probably not.
Right? You're not being forced in that manner. I mean, if I were to ask you, do you even know your post office address? You'd probably be stuck in like, you don't even go there unless you're going to hope for your fines to be there, or that, you know, your card disc renewal letters, and even that's fading away.
Yeah,
so it's really a mindset change that we have to work with before we actually go into the processes things. But I find that doing the workshops where we get people to be part of documenting their processes makes them think about how much time that is involved in actually getting their work done. And then when I talk about, you know, you could do this faster on the computer, then they want to see how. And then it's exciting. You mean, oh, so you mean I don't have to do this for 30 minutes, I can do this now in 5? Yeah, sure. And then it becomes more exciting. And you can actually see it, the change in a person's face even, because they then realize what is the potential of technology into their worlds. And that for me is a great thing, because then it means that that person is starting to think very, very differently about their business and where this business could go and how they can even scale this business. It changes conversations about how do you delegate. A lot of people say, I want to be an employer, but you actually don't know how much work it is into becoming an employer and actually delegating and keeping those quality standards at bay.
But I realize that sometimes when we are forced to change, when the circumstances forces us to change. Just to give you one of the classical examples, when the post office went on strike, we could not get our mail. And guess what? I had to phone most of the guys and say, put me on email. And now I am getting my post via email and instantly. How about that?
And it saves you the drive to the post box and finding the key. That's always going missing. So yeah, those are some of the benefits.
And we are saving the environment as well. But take me through the effect of this towards unemployment due to this automation.
So there's two folds. In the context of big industry, large corporates, where you have machinery is already replacing human functions in an office space, then we will see a large influx of retrenchments in that sector. And that is by the nature of technology being able to do something faster or better with, I mean, machine is not going to ask you for leave, it's not going to ask you for medical aid or things like that. So automatically the cost of production start to decrease. And we have to understand this is a business decision for them, right? The other side of the equation is that for small businesses that exist, it means that you've got a large skills force that is experienced, that can come and add value into the business. So if you are smart and wise about it, you can then leverage from those kind of things and use those kind of people as mentors, which is what we actually do with Lean Business Platform, is that we engage more experienced professionals to then come in and do some sort of advisory or mentorship onto a program, so that people can, especially if you come from the same industry, then you can then relate to that person. But in the context of a small business, automation is not something that we need to fear. It is something that we can embrace, because then it makes it easier to access the market. So if I don't have to feel, so I was complaining to somebody the other day that I need a PA and a driver in my world, right? And I said, but what about all these other functions that you have to do? And I said, well, you know, even the PA is really going to be doing more documentation than they are going to be setting up meetings. Why? Because my meetings are set up via the website. I don't need a PA for that kind of function, right? And then the reason I need a driver is because the autonomous car is not here. But in my ideal world, I'd be using an autonomous car in that context. But everything else that has been automated, that can take it, that can be outsourced to the internet, loosely put, then that for me can be done. It allowed me to grow the business before having to spend on the pressure of hiring people. Because then once you've hired people, you have to keep the business consistent in order to keep that person employed. So if you take advantage of the tech, especially in the early phase, you can still employ people that will then use the tech into your space. But you will then grow a more natural and organic growth and not have to force yourself into employing people at the wrong time. But
retrenchment shouldn't be an issue here. Because if we embrace technology, then all we need to do is to retrain the very same people to do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we've got, I mean, you made the example of yourself as a baby boomer, right? What do I do with a baby boomer though, who's getting retrenched and today is struggling with WhatsApp, right? I'm not going to try and teach them stuff like coding or anything like that, but I need them to understand how to leverage off of their technology in order for them to do something different in their lives.
What sort of cost are we looking at here?
In terms of?
In terms of your cost, if you were to come and assist me.
Oh, our services start, so if you're doing the workshop stuff, it varies between 600 and 1,200 rand to come to the workshops.
That's very cheap.
That's quite cheap. That's what I thought.
And you save a lot of money out of that.
Yes, and you're there really, and the workshops are very practical workshops. So you're doing hands-on. I'm not doing talking where you're just going to get a whole lot of theory. You're actually going to walk out with either a documented process for one element of your business, and you will know how to replicate drawing out that process over and over again for different processes.
If I need to attend one of those workshops, or if I need to contact you, if I need to contact Marang, if I need to contact Lean Business, how do I do that? How do people get hold of you?
The easiest way would be to go on the website, Biz Process Mechanics, so BIZ, processmechanics.co.za. From there, it is easy to actually buy a service, book a meeting, book a phone call, book a Skype call, and then we will take it from there.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we had. Time flies very fast when you're having fun. I am Charles Ngobeni signing off. You can get hold of me, charlesngobeni.com, Instagram, Charles_Ngobeni, or you can go on Facebook and like me. Maybe next time I'll have more other avenue. See you next time. God bless you.
Join Marketplace with Charles on an 11-day tour of the Holy Land from the 8th of December 2019. Take the route Israel traveled to the Promised Land, cross over the Red Sea, and float on the Dead Seas, the lowest point on earth with amazing healing properties. Experience the vibe of Jericho and cruise on the Sea of Galilee to Capernaum, the hometown of Jesus. Visit the pools of Bethesda, Nazareth, Bethlehem, and many more. Walk where Jesus walked and see the Bible come alive. If beautiful memories and an enriched spirit is what you are looking for, then join us in taking Jesus to the marketplace. For more information, call us on +27 72 123 0078 or email israel@artofskincare.co.za.